It has been 5 years ever since I've hit record on a dream to bring this old Ducati Monster back to life. I had big plans, a head full of confidence, and absolutely no idea what I was getting into. But then one strip bolt turned into a long pause, 5 years long. Life moved on, project piled up, and the monster just sat waiting. Well, today, everything changes. I'm picking up right where I left off, a little older, maybe a little wiser, and this time I'm finishing what I started. So let's bring this Ducati back to life. So with the Ducati in her new home, it was time to start. The first thing that I wanted to do was get the handlebars back on, cover up any connections that are open, and give it a good proper wash. 5 years sitting in the shed with condensation and spiders definitely has shown its toll. A little backstory on the Ducati. It's originally from Germany and was gifted to me on my 16th birthday by my father. I've had the bike ever since, and it was my first proper 600. 5 years ago, when I last worked on the bike, it was during COVID. I had a plan of restoring it, fixing up the little things that were wrong, and bringing it back on the road for when COVID and quarantine were over. But as you can see, that never happened. When the bike was last parked, it did receive a new chain and sprocket, and I was happy to see that with a bit of kerosene and cleaning, they came right back to life. So now that the bike was clean, the next step was to do an oil change. I got a new oil filter, air filter, and also a battery. Once the battery was filled and charging, the next thing that I wanted to do was take out the spark plugs and just put some lubricant inside the cylinders to help them move once I spin the bike over. With some lubricant in the cylinders, the next step was to put some brake fluid in the clutch reservoir, as it did go dry over the 5 years. I done this so that I can put it into gear and use the rear wheel to spin the engine over without taking any of the casings off. As you could hear and see from the paper towels, there was good compression from both cylinders, so the spark plugs went back in. I could proceed on to the next thing. So the next thing that I done was an oil change. Sitting for 5 years, the oil looked nasty, and I know that when the bike was last parked, it needed an oil change as well. Oil filter was fairly seized onto the engine. So with the fresh oil change, the cylinders lubricated, the next thing that I wanted to do was get the airbox back on so that I could put the battery in and crank it over for the first time in 5 years. So finally, it was time to hold my breath and crank the bike over. As you can see there, the excitement was unreal. After 5 years, hearing the bike crank again brought back so many memories that I needed to push on and see if I can get this bike to start. If 5 years ago you told me that I would have been working on this bike with two of my dream bikes behind me, being the Grom and the S1K, I wouldn't have believed it. So with the tank connected, battery connected, everything's in place to try and start the bike. I went out, got some fresh fuel and tried to crank the bike over. As you can see, it was having absolutely none of it. So after trying to start it for a good while, I knew that it was time to get some help from brake cleaner. After spraying some brake cleaner into the airbox, I knew that I needed to check spark just to see if the spark plugs were working as expected. And there was nice spark coming from both cylinders. So then I resorted to spraying the brake cleaner directly into the cylinders without the airbox on. I ended up adding more fuel just in case the fuel that was put into the tank went into the carburetors to fill them up. And then I started spraying while cranking the bike over. And just like that, after 5 years, the Ducati was back alive. So now that I know that the engine is still good, everything works as expected, in the next video I'm going to be tackling the bolt that stopped it all and continuing on the restoration of the Ducati. So if you enjoy these types of videos, please make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the next one. Peace.